Javier Milei's ascent to political prominence in Argentina is marked by a resolute commitment to drastically reduce the size and influence of the government. This chapter delves into the specifics of his plan, analyzing its foundations, potential impacts, and the challenges it faces in the context of Argentine politics and society. 1. The blueprint of reduction. Milei's plan calls for a dramatic downsizing of the government structure and functions. He proposes the elimination of several ministries and bureaucratic entities, arguing that their functions are either redundant or can be more efficiently managed by the private sector. Milei also advocates for cutting down public spending and reducing the state's role in economic activities. 2. Philosophical underpinnings. These proposals are rooted in the libertarian principles of minimal government intervention and maximal individual freedom, closely aligning with Ayn Rand's objectivist views. Milei argues that a smaller government would mean less bureaucratic red tape, leading to a more dynamic economy and greater individual liberty. 3. Economic implications. Analysis of how reduced government size could impact Argentina's economy. Potential benefits include increased efficiency, reduced public debt, and a more attractive environment for foreign investment. Concerns include the short-term consequences of such reductions, like job losses in the public sector and the possible withdrawal of essential services. 4. Social and political considerations. The societal impact of reducing government size, particularly on those dependent on government assistance and services. The political feasibility of implementing such drastic changes in the context of Argentina's established political culture and public expectations. 5. Historical and international context. A comparison with other countries that have undertaken similar reductions in government size. Lessons learned from these international examples and their applicability to the Argentine context. 6. Potential challenges and roadblocks. The resistance Milei might face from various stakeholders, including labor unions, political opponents, and those within the public sector. The challenge of managing the transition and mitigating the negative impacts on affected populations. 7. Milei's strategic approach. Insights into how Milei plans to navigate these challenges. Strategies he might employ to gain public and legislative support for his proposals. In summary, Javier Milei's plan to reduce the size of the government is a bold move that embodies his libertarian ideology. It promises economic revitalization and increased individual freedom, but also poses significant challenges and risks. This chapter provides a comprehensive analysis of what this plan entails, the rationale behind it, its potential impacts, and the hurdles it may face in the journey from theory to practice. In understanding Javier Milei's political vision for Argentina, it becomes essential to compare his views on the role of government with those of Ayn Rand, whose philosophy of objectivism has significantly influenced libertarian thought worldwide. This chapter delves into the similarities and differences between Milei's proposals and Rand's ideas, particularly concerning the functions and limitations of government. 1. Core philosophical agreement. Both Milei and Rand advocate for a minimalistic approach to government. Rand's objectivism posits that the only legitimate functions of government are the protection of individual rights, which he defines as the police, military, and the courts. Milei's political agenda, with its emphasis on reducing government size and intervention, aligns closely with this principle. 2. Government's economic role. Rand was a staunch supporter of laissez-faire capitalism, arguing that government intervention in the economy is both morally wrong and pragmatically harmful. Milei's economic policies, including his stance on deregulation, tax reduction, and privatization, mirror Rand's advocacy for a free market unimpeded by government. 3. Social services and welfare. Ayn Rand was critical of the welfare state, viewing it as a violation of individual rights and a form of collectivism. Milei's views, as seen in his proposals to cut public spending and reduce government involvement in social services, reflect a similar skepticism about the role of the state in providing welfare. 4. Government size and efficiency. Rand's ideal government was extremely limited in size, focusing solely on its fundamental roles. Milei's plan to significantly downsize the government, eliminating various ministries and bureaucratic layers, can be seen as an attempt to move closer to Rand's ideal. 5. Protection of individual rights. For Rand, the protection of individual rights was the moral justification for a government's existence. Milei's emphasis on individual freedoms, property rights, and rule of law suggests a similar belief in the government's primary role as a protector rather than a provider. 6. Differences in context and application. While both share similar philosophies, Milei operates within the unique political and economic context of Argentina, which may require adaptations of Rand's ideas. The practical implementation of these principles by Milei might differ from Rand's theoretical framework due to these contextual differences. 7. Public reception and political feasibility. Rand's views, often considered radical, were aimed at an ideal society. Milei's challenge lies in applying these in a society with established expectations from the government. The feasibility of Milei implementing a Randian model of government in Argentina, given its historical and cultural context, is an area for analysis. In conclusion, Javier Milei's vision for a reduced role of government in Argentina shows considerable alignment with Ayn Rand's objectivist views. However, the practical application of these ideas faces unique challenges in Argentina's socio-political landscape. This chapter provides a nuanced understanding of how Milei's libertarian vision and Rand's objectivist philosophy converge, and where they adapt to meet the realities of Argentine society. Javier Milei's bold plan to significantly reduce the size of the government in Argentina promises profound changes in the bureaucratic structure and public services of the nation. This chapter explores the potential impacts of Milei's libertarian policies, focusing on the reshaping of bureaucracy and the delivery of public services. 1. Streamlining bureaucracy. Milei's approach involves drastic cuts in government departments and agencies. This would lead to a leaner, more efficient administrative structure, potentially resulting in faster decision-making processes and reduced red tape. The impact on public sector employment is significant, with potential job losses, but it may also lead to increased efficiency and lower operational costs. 2. Impact on public services. Reduction in government size suggests a retraction in state-provided services. Essential services like healthcare, education, and social welfare could see a shift towards privatization or public-private partnerships. The quality and accessibility of these services might change, potentially improving under more competitive and efficient management, but also raising concerns about affordability and equal access. 3. Economic implications. A smaller bureaucracy could lead to reduced government spending, impacting the fiscal deficit and national debt. The private sector might experience growth, due to increased opportunities for investment and operation in areas formerly managed by the state. However, the transition period could see economic disruptions, especially for industries heavily dependent on government contracts or subsidies. 4. Social implications. The reduction in public sector employment and changes in public services might initially increase social unrest, particularly among those directly affected. Long-term implications depend on the success of transitioning services to the private sector, and the economy's ability to absorb displaced public sector workers. 5. Institutional and legal challenges. Implementing such sweeping reforms would require significant legal and institutional changes, possibly facing resistance from the legislature, judiciary, and public sector unions. The balance of power between federal and local governments could be altered, affecting the delivery of services at different levels. 6. Public perception and political viability. Public reception of these changes is critical. While some may view the reforms as a necessary correction, others might perceive them as a threat to social stability and public welfare. Milei's ability to communicate the benefits of his plan and manage the transition effectively will be key to its political and social acceptance. 7. International comparisons and lessons. Examination of other countries that have undergone similar bureaucratic downsizing, analyzing successes and failures, and drawing lessons for the Argentine context. In conclusion, the potential impacts of Javier Milei's plan to reduce government size on Argentine bureaucracy and public services are far-reaching and multifaceted. While the promise of a more efficient and economically sustainable government is appealing, the challenges in implementation, social equity, and maintaining quality public services are significant. This chapter highlights the complex trade-offs and considerations that must be navigated in pursuing such a transformative agenda.